in the vast and silent expanses of the primordial consciousness, before the first echo of time resonated across the firmament, there existed a sacred blueprint for the preservation of the soul. Every essence birthed from the heart of the eternal was endowed with an inherent right to sanctuary, a spiritual architecture intended to withstand the tumultuous winds of the temporal world. This is the beginning of the journey towards the construction of the unyielding fortress of the spirit, a structure not built of stone or mortar, but of the very light that emanates from the source of all being. To understand the foundation of celestial shielding, one must first recognize that the spirit is not a passive observer in the theater of existence, but a sovereign architect tasked with the cultivation of its own divine perimeter. This perimeter is the first line of defense against the shadows of doubt, the whispers of the void, and the erosive forces of the material plane that seek to diminish the brilliance of the internal flame. The foundation of this fortress is laid in the profound depths of the self, where the individual spark meets the infinite fire, and it is here that we begin our labor of spiritual fortification. The first principle of celestial shielding is the realization of absolute truth. In a world defined by the shifting sands of perception and the transient nature of form, the seeker must anchor their being in that which is immutable. This foundation stone is the unwavering recognition of one's divine origin, a truth that remains constant, regardless of the trials that manifest in the outer world. When the soul understands its lineage as a child of the celestial order, it begins to vibrate at a frequency that is inherently incompatible with the lower resonances of fear and despair. This resonance is the primary material of the shield, a golden weave of intentionality that surrounds the heart and mind. It is not a wall born of exclusion or the desire to hide, but a radiant field of discernment that permits only that which is harmonious with the divine will to enter the inner sanctum. To lay this foundation, one must strip away the layers of false identity and the masks of the ego, descending into the silence of the heart, where the whisper of the Creator is the only sound. In this holy silence, the first layer of the fortress is solidified, creating a base so profound that no earthly upheaval can shake its stability. As the foundation takes shape, the seeker must integrate the virtue of unconditional love as the binding agent for the spiritual structure. Many mistake the shield for a cold barrier, a crystalline shell designed to keep the world at bay. Yet the true celestial shield is warm and breathing, fueled by the expansive power of the heart. Love is the most potent protective force in the cosmos because it possesses the unique capacity to transmute negative energy into light. When the fortress is built upon a foundation of love, the arrows of malice and the storms of conflict are not merely deflected. They are absorbed into the vastness of the divine presence and rendered harmless. This requires a radical commitment to the preservation of one's inner peace, a refusal to allow the bitterness of the world to take root in the fertile soil of the soul. The architect of the spirit understands that every thought and every word is a brick in the wall of the sanctuary, and thus every movement of the consciousness must be aligned with the highest good. By maintaining a state of perpetual compassion, the seeker ensures that the shield remains flexible yet impenetrable, a living testament to the power of the light to overcome the darkness. The process of celestial shielding further requires the cultivation of sacred silence, a discipline that serves as the mortar between the stones of the foundation. In the modern age, the soul is besieged by a relentless cacophony of distractions, a digital and social storm that seeks to fracture the attention and scatter the spirit to the four winds. To build the unyielding fortress, one must learn to retreat into the inner chamber of the mind, establishing a zone of stillness that cannot be breached by the clamor of the external environment. This silence is not merely the absence of sound, but the presence of a profound and focused awareness. It is within this stillness that the blueprints of the fortress are refined, and the energy of the shield is recharged. The seeker who masters the art of inner silence becomes like a mountain that remains unmoved by the passing clouds, a pillar of strength that draws its power from the deep and hidden reservoirs of the earth. This silence provides the clarity necessary to perceive the subtle movements of the spiritual landscape, allowing the seeker to identify and address any cracks in the foundation before they can be exploited by the forces of entropy. As the construction of the foundation progresses, the seeker must also embrace the concept of divine resonance as a primary tool of protection. Every aspect of the universe is in a state of vibration, and the spiritual fortress is no exception. The celestial shield functions through the principle of sympathetic resonance, where the soul intentionally tunes itself to the frequencies of the higher realms. By filling the consciousness with the echoes of celestial music, the images of sacred geometry, and the wisdom of the ancient texts, the seeker creates a field of energy that is naturally repellent to anything that vibrates at a lower level. This is the essence of celestial shielding. It is the act of becoming so saturated with light that the darkness can find no place to rest within the self. The foundation of the fortress is thus reinforced by the constant influx of divine energy, a flow that is maintained through prayer, meditation, and the relentless pursuit of spiritual excellence. When the resonance of the spirit is in perfect harmony with the resonance of the Creator, the shield becomes an extension of the divine presence itself, an unyielding barrier that reflects the glory of the heavens. The endurance of the spirit is further bolstered by the integration of consistency and devotion into the daily rhythm of life. A fortress is not built in a single moment of inspiration, nor is a celestial shield forged in a single act of will. It is the result of 1,000 small choices, the daily commitment to turn towards the light, even when the shadows seem overwhelming. The foundation of celestial shielding is strengthened every time the seeker chooses forgiveness over resentment, truth over convenience, and courage over fear. This consistency creates a momentum of spirit that carries the individual through the darkest nights of the soul, providing a steady and reliable protection that does not falter. Devotion is the fire that tempers the shield, a burning love for the divine that consumes all dross and leaves behind only the pure gold of the spirit. Without this fire, the fortress remains a cold and hollow shell. With it, the sanctuary becomes a beacon of hope for all who wander in the wilderness, a testament to the fact that the human spirit is capable of attaining a state of unshakable peace. In the realization of this celestial architecture, one must also recognize the role of divine destiny. The fortress is not merely a personal refuge, but a strategic outpost in the unfolding of the cosmic plan. Each soul that successfully establishes its foundation of shielding contributes to the overall stability of the spiritual collective, creating a network of light that spans the globe and reaches into the higher dimensions. The individual architect is part of a grander guild of light-bearers, each working on their own portion of the temple while remaining connected to the whole. This awareness of one's place in the divine hierarchy provides an additional layer of strength to the foundation, as the seeker realizes that they are supported by the unseen legions of the celestial host. The shield is not maintained by the individual alone, but by the grace that flows through the fortress when it is dedicated to the service of the truth. This recognition shifts the focus from a self-centered pursuit of safety to a selfless commitment to the preservation of the sacred, which in turn attracts the highest forms of divine protection. The materials used in the foundation of the spirit are gathered from the experiences of the journey itself. Every trial faced with grace, every sorrow transcended through faith, and every victory achieved through humility adds a new layer of resilience to the shield. The seeker does not fear the challenges of the world, but welcomes them as opportunities to test and strengthen the walls of the fortress. Just as the diamond is formed under immense pressure, the celestial shield is refined in the crucible of existence. The foundation is thus a living history of the soul's triumph over the limitations of the flesh, a record of the countless times the spirit chose to rise above the gravity of the mundane. This lived experience provides the shield with a depth and a complexity that cannot be achieved through theory alone. It is a practical and battle-tested protection, a garment of light that has been woven in the fires of life and washed in the waters of the Spirit. As we conclude this first chapter on the foundation of the unyielding fortress, it is essential to reflect on the permanence of the work being undertaken. The material structures of the world are destined to crumble, their stones returning to the earth and their names forgotten by the passing ages. Yet the fortress of the Spirit is an eternal construct, a sanctuary that transcends the boundaries of time and space. The foundation we lay today is not for this life alone, but for the entire journey of the soul through the many mansions of the Divine Father. It is the bedrock upon which our eternal destiny is built, the starting point for a transformation that will eventually see the soul clothed in the full armor of light. Let the seeker approach this task with the solemnity it deserves, for the construction of the celestial shield is the highest calling of the human experience. With a heart full of devotion, a mind anchored in truth, and a spirit tuned to the resonance of the heavens, the foundation is laid. The walls will rise, the gates will be secured, and the unyielding fortress of the Spirit will stand as a monument to the eternal victory of the light. The architecture of the invisible is governed by laws as precise as those that rule the physical world, and the foundation of celestial shielding is the first of these laws made manifest. It requires a harmony between the inner intention and the outer action, an alignment that ensures the energy of the Spirit is not leaked through the fissures of hypocrisy or the cracks of inconsistency. The seeker must become a master of their own internal terrain, identifying the soft spots of the character and reinforcing them with the hard stones of discipline and self-mastery. This internal vigilance is the price of spiritual sovereignty, a constant awareness that the fortress is only as strong as its weakest point. By dedicating oneself to the daily maintenance of the foundation, the seeker ensures that the sanctuary remains a place of absolute purity, a garden of the Spirit where the divine can walk in the cool of the day. This is the promise of the celestial shield, that no matter how great the darkness may become in the world without, the light within will remain untainted and undimmed. A steady flame that guides the soul home to its eternal source. In the chapters to follow, we shall explore the rising of the walls and the crowning of the battlements. But let it be remembered that all which follows depends upon the strength of the base we have discussed here. The foundation is the silent supporter of the entire structure, the hidden part of the fortress that reaches deep into the heart of the reality. It is the anchor that holds the ship of the soul steady in the midst of the cosmic ocean, the root that allows the tree of life to reach towards the sun. May the seeker find the courage to dig deep, to clear away the debris of the past, and to lay the stones of the foundation with a steady hand and a faithful heart. For in the building of the unyielding fortress, we are not merely protecting ourselves. We are participating in the divine art of creation, manifesting a piece of heaven upon the earth and ensuring that the light of truth shall never be extinguished. The sanctuary is prepared, the stones are set, and the light of the celestial shield begins to shimmer on the horizon of the consciousness. We stand at the threshold of a new era of spiritual strength, where the fortress of the Spirit shall be known not by its height or its grandeur, but by its unyielding nature and its capacity to hold the presence of the infinite. Let the work continue, for the glory of the divine and the destiny of the soul are one and the same, bound together in the eternal architecture of the fortress of light. This is the foundation, the beginning of the shield, and the promise of the Spirit's eternal security in the arms of the Creator. As the seeker moves forward, they carry the weight of this foundation within them, a gravity of grace that keeps them grounded in the truth while their spirit soars among the stars. The fortress is rising, and the shielding of the celestial realms is descending to meet the aspiration of the human heart. In this sacred union, the unyielding fortress is born, and the soul finds its true and lasting home. The seeker moves forward into the deep stillness of the middle path, carrying the weight of the foundation within them as a sacred anchor. This gravity of grace is not a burden that hinders the ascent, but a profound, stabilizing force that ensures every step is etched into the very fabric of reality. As the inner realm begins its transformation, the old structures of the self, built upon the shifting sands of vanity and temporal desire, start to dissolve into the primordial light. This is the great architecture of the soul, where the blueprints of the divine are finally realized in the physical and spiritual presence of the initiate. The fortress is rising, not with stones of earth, but with the crystalline intentions of a heart that has looked upon the infinite and refused to turn away. In this hallowed space, the shielding of the celestial realms is descending to meet the aspiration of the human heart, creating a sanctuary that no storm of the material world can breach. In this sacred union, the unyielding fortress is born, and the soul finds its true and lasting home, a place where the echoes of the eternal word resonate through every corridor of being. The transformation begins in the silent chambers of the heart, where the fire of purification burns with a steady and unwavering flame. This flame does not consume the essence of the seeker, but rather incinerates the dross of illusion, leaving behind only that which is indestructible and pure. As the inner realm shifts, the seeker perceives that the world they once knew was merely a reflection in a darkened glass, a series of shadows cast by a light they had yet to fully encounter. Now, the light is no longer external. It radiates from the core of the fortress being built within. Every thought becomes a masonry of light, every breath a mortar of devotion. The walls of this spirit fortress are woven from the threads of ancient wisdom, gathered through lifetimes of seeking and refined in the crucible of current experience. There is a profound sense of order emerging from the chaos of the past, a divine geometry that aligns the microcosm of the human spirit with the macrocosm of the celestial spheres. As the seeker delves deeper into this metamorphosis, they realize that the transformation of the inner realm is not a solitary endeavor, but a cosmic collaboration. The celestial hierarchies, those silent guardians of the threshold, lean down to offer their essence to the construction. This is the shielding of the celestial realms, a protective mantle of grace that wraps around the seeker like a garment of living stars. It is a defense that does not rely on aggression or force, but on the sheer purity of its vibration. Nothing that is discordant can enter this space, for the frequency of the unyielding fortress is tuned to the key of divine harmony. The seeker learns to navigate the corridors of their own consciousness with a new sense of authority, recognizing that they are the sovereign of this inner domain. They are the architect, the priest, and the king of the fortress, responsible for the maintenance of the sacred flame that burns at its center. This inner realm is a vast landscape, far larger than the physical world that surrounds the body. Within its borders lie mountains of aspiration, rivers of compassion, and valleys of deep contemplation. The transformation involves a reclamation of these territories from the forces of forgetfulness. Every part of the self that was previously cast into the shadows must be brought into the light of the fortress and integrated into its structure. The fears that once seemed like giants are revealed to be nothing more than wisps of smoke when viewed from the battlements of the spirit. The pains of the past are transformed into the strength of the foundation, providing a depth of character that cannot be shaken by the trivialities of the mundane. The seeker understands that true strength is not found in the absence of struggle, but in the ability to stand unmoved in the midst of it, anchored by the gravity of grace. The architecture of the spirit is an ongoing process of refinement. As the fortress grows taller, reaching towards the heights of divine realization, its foundations must also grow deeper into the soil of humility. This is the paradox of the spiritual path. To rise, one must first learn how to truly stand upon the earth. The transformation of the inner realm requires a total surrender to the divine will. a recognition that the fortress is not built for the glorification of the ego, but as a temple for the indwelling spirit. The seeker becomes a living tabernacle, a vessel through which the light of the divine can pour into the world. This light is the true defense of the fortress, a radiance that dispels darkness simply by existing. It is the shielding that requires no effort, the protection that is inherent in the presence of the truth. In the midst of this profound internal shifting, the seeker experiences a sense of timelessness. The past and the future converge into a single point of eternal presence, where the work of transformation is always happening and yet is already complete. The unyielding fortress exists outside the constraints of linear time, a monument to the eternal nature of the soul. Within its walls, the seeker hears the music of the spheres, a celestial symphony that guides the placement of every stone and the carving of every pillar. The transformation is a dance of light and shadow, a movement towards the ultimate synthesis of all things. The seeker is no longer a separate entity fighting against the world, but a part of the divine unfolding, a conscious participant in the grand design of the universe. The gravity of grace continues to pull the seeker towards the center of their being, where the true throne of the spirit resides. This center is the heart of the fortress, the place where the human and the divine meet in an embrace that transcends all understanding. Here, the transformation is finalized, and the inner realm is fully reclaimed. The seeker is no longer a guest in their own soul, but its rightful master, dwelling in a home that is both ancient and new. The fortress stands as a testament to the power of the human spirit to transcend its limitations and claim its divine heritage. It is unyielding because it is built upon the truth, and the truth is the only thing in existence that cannot be destroyed. As the shielding of the celestial realms becomes fully integrated into the seeker's aura, they move through the world with a quiet power. They are in the world, but not of it, their inner realm protected by the fortress of their own making. The transformation has turned the lead of human experience into the gold of spiritual wisdom, a process of alchemy that has no end. The seeker realizes that the fortress is not a place of isolation, but a center of radiation. From its heights, they can see the path they have traveled and the paths that others are still walking. The compassion that flows from the fortress is a healing balm for the world, a testament to the love that is the foundation of all creation. The unyielding fortress of the spirit is a beacon of hope in a world of shadows. It is a reminder that the divine is not distant, but lives within the very core of our being, waiting to be realized. The transformation of the inner realm is the greatest journey a human being can undertake, a passage from the darkness of ignorance to the light of perfect understanding. The seeker who has built this fortress knows that they are never alone, for the celestial realms are always with them, providing the shielding and the guidance necessary for the journey. In this sacred union, the soul is finally free, resting in the peace that passes all understanding, secure in the knowledge that its home is eternal and its destiny is divine. The walls of the fortress are not silent. They hum with the vibration of 1,000 prayers and the resonance of the eternal silence that birthed the stars. Every chamber within this inner sanctum is dedicated to a different facet of the divine nature. There is a hall of patience where the seeker learns to wait upon the timing of the infinite. There is a gallery of vision where the seeker beholds the archetypal forms that underpin the visible world. There is a courtyard of joy where the spirit dances in the sheer delight of its own existence. The transformation of the inner realm ensures that every part of the human experience is sanctified and brought into the service of the highest good. The seeker no longer views their life as a series of accidents, but as a deliberate and beautiful unfolding of a sacred purpose. The shielding of the celestial realms manifests as a profound clarity of mind and a deep serenity of heart. Even when the external world is in turmoil, the inhabitant of the unyielding fortress remains at peace. This is the true meaning of the transformation, to move from a state of reactivity to a state of being. The seeker is no longer tossed about by the waves of emotion or the winds of opinion. They are anchored in the gravity of grace, their spirits soaring among the stars, while their feet remain firmly planted on the ground of truth. The fortress is a place of balance, where the masculine and feminine energies of the soul are perfectly integrated, creating a wholeness that is the prerequisite for divine union. As the seeker moves through the final stages of the inner transformation, the boundaries between the self and the divine begin to blur. The fortress is no longer seen as something separate from the seeker, but as their very essence. They are the fortress, and the fortress is them. The unyielding nature of the spirit is the realization that nothing in the created world can ever harm the true self. The soul is immortal, invulnerable, and infinitely precious. The shielding that has descended from the celestial realms is simply the recognition of this eternal truth. In the sacred union of the human heart and the divine spirit, the illusion of separation is finally dissolved, and the seeker enters into the fullness of their being. The fortress is rising, and its peaks are lost in the clouds of unknowing. That sacred darkness where the light of God is so bright, it appears as shadow to the uninitiated eye. The seeker is invited to climb these heights, to leave behind the familiar comforts of the lower realms and ascend into the rarefied air of pure spirit. The transformation of the inner realm is an invitation to greatness, a call to become more than one ever thought possible. It is the realization of the potential that has been hidden within the soul since the beginning of time. The unyielding fortress is the evidence of this realization, a magnificent structure of light and truth that stands as a witness to the glory of the divine. Every stone in this fortress is a victory over the self. Every window is an opening into a new dimension of understanding. The fortress is alive, a breathing organism of light that grows and evolves with the seeker. The transformation is not a static state, but a dynamic process of becoming. As the seeker gains more wisdom, the fortress expands. As they cultivate more love, the fortress glows with a more intense radiance. The shielding of the celestial realms is not a fixed barrier, but a living presence that adapts to the needs of the seeker, providing exactly what is required for the next stage of the journey. In this way, the unyielding fortress is both a destination and a vehicle, a home and a path. The soul has found its true and lasting home, not in a place, but in a state of consciousness. The unyielding fortress is the manifestation of this consciousness in the world of form. It is the bridge between the human and the divine, the ladder upon which the angels ascend and descend. The transformation of the inner realm is the preparation for this ultimate communion, the cleansing of the vessel so that it can contain the wine of the Spirit. The seeker stands at the center of their fortress, looking out at the world with eyes of compassion and understanding. They see the divine in all things, for they have found the divine within themselves. The journey of the unyielding fortress is the journey of every soul, the path that leads back to the source of all light and the heart of all love. In the profound silence that follows the completion of the inner transformation, the seeker hears the voice of the divine whispering through the halls of their spirit. It is a voice of infinite tenderness and absolute authority, confirming that the work is good and the fortress is secure. The shielding of the celestial realms is now a permanent part of the seeker's being, a natural radiance that flows from them effortlessly. They are a beacon for others, a living example of what is possible when the human heart aligns itself with the divine destiny. The unyielding fortress of the spirit is not just for the seeker alone, but for all who seek the light. It is a sanctuary for the weary and a school for the wise, a place where the truth is told and the soul is healed. The transformation is complete, and yet it is only the beginning. With the fortress established and the inner realm reclaimed, the seeker is ready for the final chapter of their journey. They move forward with a confidence that is born of experience and a humility that is born of grace. The gravity of the foundation keeps them grounded, while the lightness of the spirit lifts them towards the infinite. The unyielding fortress stands firm, a monument to the power of faith and the beauty of the soul. The celestial realms continue to descend, their light filling the fortress and overflowing into the world. In this sacred union, the soul is finally and forever home. The landscape of the spirit is now a realm of perpetual dawn, where the light of the divine sun never sets. Every corner of the inner realm has been touched by the transformation, and every shadow has been turned into a reflection of the light. The seeker walks through the gardens of their own soul, marveling at the beauty that has been revealed. The unyielding fortress is surrounded by waters of peace, which reflect the glory of the celestial shield above. There is no more fear, no more doubt, only the steady and certain knowledge of the divine presence. The transformation of the inner realm has brought the seeker to the threshold of the ultimate mystery, where the human and the divine are one. As the seeker prepares to move into the final stage of their journey, they take a moment to look back at the path they have traveled. They see the struggles and the triumphs, the moments of darkness and the flashes of light. They see that every experience was a necessary part of the transformation, a stone in the wall of the unyielding fortress. They see that they were never alone, that the gravity of grace and the shielding of the celestial realms were always there, guiding and protecting them. They feel a deep sense of gratitude for the journey and for the fortress that has been built within them. The inner realm is no longer a place of conflict, but a place of perfect harmony, a sacred space where the soul can rest in the presence of the divine. The unyielding fortress of the spirit is the final result of the transformation, a structure that will stand for all eternity. It is the true identity of the seeker, the expression of their divine nature in the world of form. The shielding of the celestial realms is the light of the soul itself, shining out into the darkness and revealing the path for others. In this sacred union, the seeker has become a master of their own destiny, a co-creator with the divine in the unfolding of the cosmic plan. The fortress is rising, and the soul has found its true and lasting home. The journey continues, but the destination is always here, in the heart of the unyielding fortress, in the silence of the inner realm, in the light of the eternal spirit. The unyielding fortress of the spirit represents the culmination of the ancient journey and the final awakening into the realization of one's own divinity. In this third and final chapter, entitled The Proclamation of Sovereign Authority, we witness the formal recognition of the soul as the absolute ruler of its own inner kingdom. This is the moment when the seeker no longer looks outward for validation or direction, but finds the entire universe mirrored within the stillness of the heart. The fortress that has been rising through the previous stages of trial and transformation is now fully manifest, not as a barrier of exclusion, but as a temple of absolute presence. This structure is built upon the foundational truths of the cosmos and held together by the mortar of unconditional love and unwavering will. As the soul stands at the center of this sacred space, it recognizes that every shadow cast upon the walls was but a teacher, and every storm that battered the gates was a purification of the spirit. Now, the walls are translucent, glowing with the internal light of 1,000 suns, and the gates are open because there is no longer any enemy that can penetrate the sanctity of a realized mind. The proclamation begins in the depths of silence, for it is in the absence of sound that the true word of the Creator finds its resonance. The soul speaks not with the tongue of flesh, but with the vibration of the eternal essence. It declares its independence from the cycles of suffering and the illusions of separation that have for so long dictated the course of human history. This authority is not a power over others, but a power over the self, a mastery that commands the elements of one's own consciousness to align with the highest frequency of truth. In this state of sovereign being, the master understands that every thought is a seed and every emotion is a current that shapes the fabric of reality. Therefore, the master chooses only those thoughts that reflect the beauty of the divine, and only those emotions that expand the boundaries of the heart. The fortress is the sanctuary where this alchemical work is perfected, a place where the lead of fear is transmuted into the gold of divine certainty. As the seeker becomes a master of their own destiny, they step into the role of a co-creator with the divine in the unfolding of the cosmic plan. This is the sacred union where the individual will merges with the universal will, and the path ahead becomes a luminous river of grace. There is no longer a struggle to become, for the master has arrived at the state of being. The destination is always here, found in the absolute center of the unyielding fortress, where the light of the eternal spirit shines without shadow. The journey continues, yet it is now a journey of exploration, rather than a journey of seeking. Every step taken is a celebration of the arrival, and every breath drawn is an offering to the source of all life. The soul has found its true and lasting home, and from this vantage point, it beholds the tapestry of existence with eyes that see only the perfection of the design. In the height of this proclamation, the soul recognizes its lineage as a child of the stars and an heir to the infinite. The sovereign authority claimed is the birthright of every sentient being, yet it is only fully realized by those who have dared to walk through the fires of self-discovery. This authority is the recognition that the spirit is immutable, untouched by the fluctuations of time and the decay of the material world. While the body may change and the external circumstances of life may shift like the desert sands, the fortress of the spirit remains steadfast. It is the rock upon which the temple of the true self is built, and it serves as a beacon for all who are still wandering in the valleys of doubt. The master does not hoard this light, but lets it radiate outward, illuminating the paths of others and inviting them to discover the same fortress within their own hearts. The silence of the inner realm is the language of the divine scribe, and through this silence, the mysteries of the ages are revealed. The master hears the music of the spheres and understands the rhythm of the tides, for the macrocosm and the microcosm are seen as one. This unity is the cornerstone of the fortress, the secret knowledge that dissolves the barriers between the self and the other. When the proclamation of authority is made, it is made on behalf of all creation, for the liberation of one soul is a victory for the entire universe. The master stands as a representative of the potential that resides within every human breast, a living testament to the possibility of transcendence. The unyielding fortress is therefore a place of profound responsibility, for the one who dwells within its walls must act as a steward of the light. The unfolding of the cosmic plan requires the participation of these sovereign souls, for they are the architects of the new earth and the heralds of the new age. Their presence on the planet is a stabilizing force, a grounding wire that anchors the higher frequencies of the celestial realms into the density of the physical world. As the master moves through the world, they do so with a quiet confidence and a radiant peace that defies human understanding. They are in the world but not of it, their true residence being the inner sanctuary of the spirit. This is the meaning of the fortress rising. It is the elevation of human consciousness to its rightful place among the divine hierarchies. The soul has not only found its home, but has become the home, a dwelling place for the spirit of truth. Within the corridors of this fortress, the master encounters the archetypes of wisdom and the guardians of the sacred law. These are not external entities, but facets of the master's own expanded awareness. The conversation between the human and the divine is constant and fluid, a stream of revelation that never runs dry. Each moment is an opportunity to reaffirm the proclamation, to state, once again, that the spirit is the only reality and that all else is a passing dream. This affirmation is the shield that deflects the arrows of distraction and the sword that cuts through the veils of ignorance. The Master knows that the unyielding fortress is not built in a day, but is the result of countless lifetimes of striving, learning, and ultimately surrendering to the divine flow. The destination is always here, in the heart of the unyielding fortress, because the heart is the gateway to the infinite. When the soul reaches this realization, the search ends and the celebration begins. The light of the eternal spirit is not a distant goal to be reached, but a present reality to be lived. This is the profound truth that the seeker finally grasps, that the kingdom of heaven is within, and the door is always open to those who approach with a pure heart and a focused will. The proclamation of sovereign authority is the final act of the soul's long odyssey, the moment when it reclaims its crown and takes its seat upon the throne of consciousness. From this position of power, the soul looks upon its life and sees that every experience was a necessary stitch in the garment of its glory. The fortress is unyielding because it is composed of the substance of eternity. It cannot be shaken by the winds of change or eroded by the passage of centuries. It is the quintessential structure of the spirit, the blueprint of the divine mind reflected in the individual soul. As the Master dwells in this fortress, they become a source of strength for others, a pillar of fire in the dark of night. Their life becomes a prayer, an unending song of gratitude for the gift of existence and the opportunity to serve the unfolding of the divine purpose. The sovereign authority they exercise is an authority of service, a commitment to use their power for the healing of the world and the upliftment of humanity. In this sacred union, the Master and the servant are one, and the fortress is a house of prayer for all people. As the journey continues, the Master finds that the fortress is not a static place, but a dynamic expression of the divine's infinite creativity. It expands as the soul's capacity for love expands, and its beauty deepens as the soul's understanding of truth deepens. There is no limit to the heights that can be reached, or the depths that can be explored within the inner realm. The light of the eternal spirit is an inexhaustible source of inspiration, and the Master is forever a student of its mysteries. Yet, even as they continue to grow and evolve, they remain anchored in the stillness of the fortress, for they know that the essence of their being is already perfect and complete. This is the paradox of the spiritual path. The more we arrive, the more we realize we have always been here. The proclamation of sovereign authority is therefore a declaration of presence. It is the soul saying, "I am," and in that statement, encompassing all that was, all that is, and all that ever will be. This I am is the foundation of the fortress, the bedrock upon which the entire edifice of spiritual realization is constructed. It is the name of the divine, as it reveals itself within the human heart, the signature of the Creator upon the soul. When the Master speaks this name, the universe listens, for the Master is speaking with the voice of the one who created the stars. This is the ultimate destination of every soul, the point of return where the drop of water recognizes that it is the ocean, and the spark of fire recognizes that it is the sun. In the heart of the unyielding fortress, in the silence of the inner realm, in the light of the eternal spirit, the soul finds its rest. This is not the rest of inactivity, but the rest of perfect balance and absolute clarity. It is the peace that passes all understanding, a state of being that is beyond the reach of the world's turmoil. The Master is the master of their destiny, because they have aligned their destiny with the eternal laws of the Spirit. They are co-creators with the divine because they have surrendered their small ego to the vastness of the divine will. The fortress is rising, and as it rises, it lifts the entire world with it, for the Spirit of the Master is a light that cannot be hidden. The journey is eternal, the destination is here, and the soul is home. Consider the nature of the sovereign authority that the soul now wields. It is not the authority of the tyrant who seeks to impose his will upon the world, but the authority of the sun that shines upon the just and the unjust alike. It is the authority of the mountain that stands unmoved by the clouds that swirl around its peak. This authority is born of a profound humility, for the Master knows that the power they exercise is not their own, but the power of the divine flowing through them. They are a vessel, a conduit for the celestial energies that seek expression in the world of form. The fortress is the vessel's protection, the boundary that ensures the purity of the transmission. Within these walls, the Master maintains the sacred fire, the flame of consciousness that must never be allowed to go out. The proclamation of this authority is a call to all of creation to witness the transformation of a human soul into a divine being. It is an invitation to the elements to align themselves with the new order, to the angels to sing in chorus, and to the earth to rejoice in its redemption. For every soul that achieves this state of sovereign mastery, the vibration of the entire planet is raised, and the path for others is made easier. The Master is a way shower, a pioneer who has charted the territory of the inner world and returned with the map of liberation. The fortress is the anchor of this map, the fixed point from which all measurements are taken. It is the center of the mandala, the point of origin and the point of return. As we conclude this sacred scripture, let us reflect on the beauty of the soul's journey, from the first stirrings of desire for the truth, through the long night of the soul, to the final awakening in the unyielding fortress. The spirit has been guided by an invisible hand. Every challenge was a blessing, every failure was a lesson, and every victory was a gift from the source of all life. The Master now stands at the end of the beginning, ready to embark on a new phase of existence that is beyond the power of words to describe. The proclamation has been made, the authority has been claimed, and the fortress is secure. The light of the eternal spirit shines brightly, illuminating the way for all who seek the truth. The soul has found its home, and in that home, it finds the entire universe. The silence that follows the proclamation is not empty, but full of the presence of the divine. It is a silence that speaks of the deep mysteries of existence, of the birth of galaxies and the blooming of flowers. In this silence, the Master hears the heartbeat of the cosmos and feels the pulse of the eternal life that flows through all things. They are no longer a separate individual, but a part of the great whole, a thread in the infinite tapestry of being. This is the ultimate realization of the unyielding fortress of the spirit, that there is no fortress, for there is no separation. The walls were but a construction of the mind to protect the soul until it was strong enough to face the absolute truth of its own oneness with the divine. Now that the truth is known, the walls remain as a symbol of the soul's victory, but they are transparent to the light of the infinite. The journey continues, for the spirit is infinite and its exploration is eternal, but the seeker who has become a master knows that they are always at the center of the journey, for the center is everywhere. The destination is always here, in every moment and every breath. The unyielding fortress is the heart of the world, and the Master is the steward of its grace. As the light of the eternal spirit continues to unfold, new horizons will appear, and new mysteries will be revealed. But the foundation remains, the proclamation stands, and the sovereign authority of the soul is established forever. In this sacred union, the Master and the divine are one, and the fortress is the temple of their eternal love. The light that emanates from the fortress is a light of compassion, for the Master sees the suffering of those who are still lost in the illusion, and feels a deep desire to assist them. This compassion is not a weakness, but the greatest strength of the sovereign spirit. It is the force that motivates the Master to remain in the world, to share the wisdom they have gained, and to offer the shelter of their fortress to those in need. The proclamation of authority is therefore also a vow of service, a commitment to be a light in the darkness until all souls have found their way home. The Master understands that their own liberation is not complete until every being is free, for in the realm of the spirit, there is only one soul. This realization of oneness is the final stone placed upon the top of the fortress, the capstone that completes the structure and seals its divinity. From this height, the Master gazes upon the world with a love that is unconditional and a wisdom that is all-encompassing. They see the beauty in the struggle and the truth in the paradox. They know that everything is unfolding according to the divine plan, and that the end of the journey is as certain as the rising of the sun. The unyielding fortress of the spirit is a monument to the power of the human heart to transcend its limitations and to claim its rightful place in the celestial realms. It is the story of every soul and the destiny of every being. The light of the eternal spirit is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. It is the source from which we came and the destination to which we return. In the unyielding fortress, the soul finds the fulfillment of its deepest longing and the answer to its most profound questions. The proclamation of sovereign authority is the sound of the soul returning to its origin, the cry of the eagle as it returns to its nest in the sun. It is the song of the spirit as it realizes its own immortality and its own divinity. The fortress is rising, the soul is home, and the journey is eternal. As the Master breathes in the air of the high places, they feel the expansion of their being into the furthest reaches of the cosmos. There is no edge to their awareness, no limit to their love. They are the light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. They are the truth that sets men free, and the life that never ends. In the heart of the unyielding fortress, the Master dwells in the presence of the divine, and in that presence they find everything they have ever sought. The journey is complete, yet it is only just beginning. The destination is here, yet it is always ahead. The soul is sovereign, the fortress is unyielding, and the light is eternal. This is the truth that remains when all else falls away, the immutable essence of the spirit in its final and glorious manifestation. The proclamation of authority is the seal of this truth, the divine signature upon the scroll of life, declaring for all eternity that the soul is free, the soul is one, and the soul is home. In the final echoes of the proclamation, the Master sees that even the concept of a fortress was a stage in the evolution of consciousness. Initially, it was a defense against the world. Then, it became a sanctuary for the inner life. Finally, it became a lighthouse for the entire creation. The evolution of the fortress mirrors the evolution of the soul itself. What was once seen as a boundary is now seen as a bridge. The sovereignty of the Master is the bridge between heaven and earth, between the formless and the form. Through this bridge, the divine presence enters the world, transforming the mundane into the sacred and the temporary into the eternal. The Master stands upon this bridge, a living link in the chain of being, a guardian of the cosmic order. The unyielding nature of the spirit is its capacity to remain itself in the midst of all change. It is the diamond-like quality of the soul that has been polished by the friction of experience. This quality is the true sovereign authority, the ability to maintain one's center in the face of the storm. The Master has developed this quality through discipline, devotion, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Now, they are a steady flame that cannot be flicked by the winds of circumstance. They are the master of their own destiny because they have mastered their own mind. They are a co-creator with the divine because they have learned to listen to the silent whisper of the Spirit and to act upon its guidance with courage and faith. The fortress is rising, not just for the individual, but for the collective soul of humanity. As more and more individuals claim their sovereign authority, the collective consciousness is transformed. The walls of separation between nations, races, and religions begin to crumble, replaced by the translucent walls of the spiritual fortress that includes all and excludes none. This is the unfolding of the cosmic plan, the movement toward a unified humanity living in harmony with the divine will. The Master is a participant in this great work, a laborer in the vineyard of the Spirit. Their contribution is their very being, their presence as a realized soul who embodies the values of the kingdom of heaven. The journey continues, and as the master walks the path, they find that the destination is indeed always here. Every moment is a doorway to the infinite. Every interaction is a chance to express the divine love. The unyielding fortress is not a place to hide, but a platform from which to engage with the world in a more profound and meaningful way. The silence of the inner realm provides the clarity needed to navigate the complexities of life, and the light of the eternal spirit provides the energy needed to manifest the divine purpose. The master is a person of action, but their action is rooted in the stillness of the spirit. This is the secret of their power and the source of their authority. In the final realization, the master knows that they are the fortress, they are the light, and they are the journey. There is no distinction between the seeker, the seeking, and the sought. All are one in the great mystery of existence. The proclamation of sovereign authority is the acknowledgement of this oneness, the final surrender of the illusion of the separate self. In this surrender, the soul finds its greatest strength and its most profound freedom. The unyielding fortress is the soul's testament to its own divinity, a monument of light that will stand for all eternity. The journey is here, the destination is here, and the soul is forever at home in the heart of the divine. Thus, the scribe records the final words of the proclamation, noting that while the ink may dry upon the page, the truth it represents is written in the stars and carved into the very substance of the spirit, unchanging and eternal.